Hey friends, this is Dolynny TV. Glad to have you aboard for a late night edition of Edmonton Oilers discussion here on the channel today. And I figured I'd just kind of do exactly what worked well earlier today and just having a discussion and kind of openly spitballing some ideas rather than going full-heartedly at a topic. I know Patrick from the Oilers Fanatic was definitely right on top with the Sean Monahan news this evening, so I'll let him kind of fill you in on the ebbs and flows of that whole situation, and I'll just kind of take it in a little bit of a different direction and kind of ask the bigger questions that would imply happens for the Edmonton Oilers roster, that being of course the left wing position on the second line, and 1 and 2, Ryan McLeod and Evander Kane. Friends, before we get there, just shy of 520 subscribers to go till 15,000. If you'd be so kind to consider joining me, that would be greatly appreciated here on Dolynny TV as we close in on that big 15,000 marker here, hopefully before the end of January. That said, we've got the Montreal Canadiens tomorrow. Sean Monahan's on that Canadian squad. He's healthy for the first time in a few years. He's producing results, which of course you can see, I think it's like 24 points so far this season. Patrick's got the whole breakdown over on the Oilers Fanatic, like I mentioned a few moments ago. But what the mention needs to be made here is if the Oilers were to look at acquiring a Sean Monahan, right? Sean Monahan gives you a lot of flexibility in your bottom six. He gives you kind of that third line defined center role. He's a guy that's been around. He's 29 years old. He's been on some playoff runs, right? Back in the day. So it would be interesting to see a guy like former Flame Sean Monahan join the Edmonton Oilers. He's got a reasonable cap hit as well. So there's a bunch of things to like about the Oilers talking about potentially acquiring Sean Monahan as we move forward towards the trade deadline. He's almost similar to kind of the same idea we have had with acquiring a guy like Nick Bjugstad again from Arizona. So we'll see what happens, but of course right now we'll just kind of play it by ear and just keep tabs on it, like I said. But for us, that implies two things could possibly happen if we do acquire Sean Monahan. That being the situation that is now over the past week or two starting to evolve with Evander Kane and secondarily Ryan McLeod. Because you saw last game out, right? Evander Kane got re-elevated to the second line, played some time with Draisaitl and Foegele. Didn't last too long, but of course Chris Knobloch knows he's kind of underutilizing him a bit is kind of the terminology we're all using right now. And that second line's starting to taper off a little bit. I think 2 games out they all got a point still, but you're starting to see that second line lose a little bit of a step as the rest of the league starts adapting to them and actually game planning a bit for them as well. So in that, you now have a complicating factor of, do you move Ryan McLeod back to third line center and pursue a fourth line center? Do you move Ryan McLeod all the way down to the fourth line for the playoffs to add some jam down there? Do you keep Ryan McLeod at left wing second line? Do you move Evander Kane up and maybe move Ryan McLeod to the left wing, keep him free and roving around? Or is it just the dynamics of that second line that allow Ryan McLeod to be an effective winger at the NHL level? So that's kind of the questions we've got to ask ourselves. And I think this beautiful spot of everybody kind of starting to mention Sean Monahan for the Edmonton Oilers kind of brings up those inconvenient conversations of what are the Oilers going to do this season long term, right, as we haul through the back half of the year with Ryan McLeod, with Evander Kane, right? Kind of how do you solve those issues and kind of flesh out where those guys play in the lineup come game 1 of the playoffs against whoever the heck we play. So that's where I'm excited, right? These conversations we start having now, similar to Travis Konechny and Corey Perry, right? I think Corey Perry, for all of us, would easily just boot Mr. Connor Brown out of the lineup and we'd be fine, right? But then what of Sam Gagner? So this is the time of year we really have to start taking stock of our own guys. What do we think of them? What do we want out of them? And what are we going to do with them as we continue to evolve along towards the trade deadline? So like I've said, I really do like the fact that we are talking about Sean Monahan tonight, simply because if the rumors are true and he ends up in Edmonton, the complications there are fantastic, or maybe not. because maybe Evander Kane either finds a home on the second or third line, and whether it's Sean Monahan on the third line and Ryan McLeod on the wing still, you just flip-flop Kane and McLeod, and it could be a very easy solution there as well if you have a bona fide center in Sean Monahan. That's something I didn't really mention right off the hop, but that's something that you could easily do to solve that. But again, is that going to be the case? I'm not 100% sure. So there's a million ways you can play it. Friends, I want to hear how you would play it. If the Oilers acquired Sean Monahan, how would you play the situation with McLeod and Kane? It's not about the Oilers really actually acquiring Sean Monahan in this moment. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm talking about how would you play the fallout scenarios if the Oilers did actually acquire Sean Monahan before or at this NHL trade deadline. Friends, I'm Tyson. This is Dolynny TV. I am up on out of here.